And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. So do me a favor. We need to build the community. So hit subscribe, watch, keep those comments going. We're well over 300 and something thousand already. All right. And share with one friend. Let them be in the know as well. Because look, it's no surprise that the market has continued to tank since Trump announced these new tariffs last week. And this morning on Fox News, Maria Bartiromo, she could not, despite all of her previous denials, right now, she could not deny a possible recession as she looked at the tanking stock ticker. Play the clip.
It is going to have an effect on Main Street. Some things will become higher priced. We will see some products actually be raised in price because companies will pass on the cost of tariffs to consumers. I would expect that. That's why you have some people saying that we could see a recession, we'll see a growth slowdown. This morning, Nancy Lazar, who I follow very closely, and I think she's terrific, from Piper Sandler, she says if the tariffs stay in place for at least the next 6 months, even if only 50% of the price shocks where we're seeing products go higher in price show through the economy, U.S. real GDP is on track to decline about 1% in the second quarter and in the third quarter, with unemployment rising. But look,
let me be clear about something. For the second time in under a week, Goldman Sachs has now changed their position, claiming that the probability of a recession, which they marked at 35%, is now at 45%. My friends, it's coming. Then, of course, we have Kevin Hassett, the director of the National Economic Council. He was asked if Trump would consider a 90-day pause. And based on his answer, the Dow spiked. Now, I want to show you a clip from CNBC talking about the spike and then show you what Hassett actually said. Play that clip.
I think we can go with this headline. Apparently, Hassett's been saying that Trump will consider a 90-day pause in tariffs for all countries except for China.
Except for China.
Oh, well, that's huge. I mean, that changes the game.
We'll try and source that exactly in terms of where that's coming from. But to your point, longer term, let's say, okay, we get a 90-day pause. I don't know. I'm curious to get your thoughts about credibility. Sarah and I were talking about it moments ago.
We're not.
What it means for policy going forward, and/or how you navigate this both as a decision maker at the top of a company or an investor.
No one likes this uncertainty. This is a negative. That he could do something like this and not listen. Let's hope Congress takes back the powers of the tariff that the fathers of the Constitution wrote in and gave them, and they gave up to the president. They're trying.
Now, here's what Hassett actually did say. Play that clip.
Will you do a 90-day pause? Would you consider that?
Or Bill, yeah, I think that the president is going to decide what the president's going to decide. There are more than 50 countries in negotiation with the president. We've got the prime minister of Israel coming today. We've had a reach out overnight from Taiwan. And but I would urge everyone, especially Bill, to ease off the rhetoric a little bit. The fact is that say 10% baseline tariff is on 14% of GDP. That's about how much trade we have, how many imports. And so 86% of GDP is affected by the deregulation and the tax cuts and everything else. And even if you think, and I think a lot of us at the White House think that these economic responses are exaggerated by critics, even if you think that there will be some negative effect from the trade side, that's still a small share of GDP. And so the idea that it's going to be a nuclear winter or something like that is completely irresponsible rhetoric.
So the irresponsible rhetoric, Kevin von Jerkoff, is what you're saying as we are watching people lose their entire savings, 401ks down by 30-40% in just a mere two and a half weeks. Serious? Let me show you where the Dow is at right now. The Dow right now is at 37,360. It is down almost 1,000 points. So don't turn around and try to blame it, Kevin, on what? On Bill Ackman or left-wing media making claims that this is over-exaggerated? It is not. Hassett also naively parroted that Trump just wants to enact policies that help the American worker. Play the clip.
But is there a point at which President Trump looks at the markets and says, oh, my gosh, we're at 35,000 on the Dow. This is too painful?
The president has made it clear that this policy, he believes, will help American workers. And there's a reason why he believes that, because policies like this in his last term did help American workers. After really 2 decades of no real wage growth in the U.S., we got more than $6,000 per family after we had tariffs and tax cuts and deregulation. And so he's doubling down on something that he knows works. And he's going to continue to do that, but he is also going to listen to our trading partners. And if they come to us with really great deals that advantage American manufacturing and American farmers, I'm sure he'll listen. But in the end, it's President Trump that's going to decide when a deal is good enough. And I think it's interesting that so many countries are lining up.
Hard to imagine that this guy is part of a National Economic Council. Just to parrot for a party of one truly makes you not just incompetent, but it makes you into an asshole. And despite the numbers, despite these horrible, horrible numbers that we are all watching every single day, that's causing more anxiety, more chaos, Fox, they continue to spin the market crash, even trying to claim this morning that farmers are benefiting from the tariffs. Play the clip.
Numbers, and the ranchers of Wyoming are saying, thank you, Mr. President, it is about time.
We have an Illinois rancher coming on our show this afternoon who they're applauding these tariffs, saying it is about time, pointing out exactly that, the amount of money, $29 billion. Australia sells beef to the United States. Not a dollar of our beef goes to Australia. So they're cheering this on. I talked to a shrimper on Friday, the shrimping industry, the fishing industry in the United States. I mean, it's not just been an overnight change. I mean, this has been decades of decline for them, where we are importing more and more. So we hear them, and that's got to be a part of this, because the stock market's getting a lot of the headlines. So is the White House championing this message for them, for all those Americans who feel like, you know, they've lost out to unfair trade practices over many, many years?
Well, they are. I was with the president in the Rose Garden last week when he signed the agreement on the tariffs. The other issue is China. And I think
freaking believable. So you find one idiot. We're going to talk about these fools, right? Because 70% of America believes that these tariffs, that this trade war, this unnecessary trade war is not good for this country. But 30%, they're all in. We're going to get to them right after this. But Pina Navarro goes on as well and says this morning that we are in the midst of a beautiful situation. Play the clip.
We did hit that, not in 4 years, but in less than 2 years. And what I'm seeing, Joe, is a beautiful situation where we will hit 50,000 on the Dow, and we're going to have a broad-based recovery in the S&P 500. The market's trying to find its bottom now. The thing I would say to retail investors is don't get panicked out by all of this. And
because you're sitting with cash. What about the people that are living paycheck to paycheck? You know, I was telling you before, 30%, which is a massive number. They're just all in. And I think as Americans, we're actually asking the wrong question. And that it's not why. It's why are they supporting Trump? And not just why are they supporting him, but how are they justifying it to themselves? You know, it kind of, when I'm watching this craziness and listening to the stupidity, it kind of brings me to the movie, The Dark Knight. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I write about this in my Substack. I'm talking about the Batman movie, The Dark Knight. And there's a line in that movie that, to me, feels extremely relevant and timely. And that line is when Alfred, you know, the butler, as wise as ever, tells Bruce Wayne, some men just want to watch the world burn. And it made me start thinking, Trump's not a leader. He's not even a president in the traditional sense. If we're going to stay on the Dark Knight theme, he's the Joker in a Brioni suit, lighting these matchsticks and flicking them at the American experiment while laughing maniacally. And his 30%, these people I'm referring to, they're not looking for policy wins, and they're not looking for economic logic. They are looking for vengeance, for chaos. They are looking for a false sense of superiority that's wrapped in a red hat. That, my friends, is why this community is so important. So again, hit subscribe, watch, comment, keep the comments coming, and share with at least one friend so that ultimately we can change this all together. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey everyone, first of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.